Yeah, I'm not ready to say that they're completely back, but I don't think they're a bad team. Put it that way.
The first game tonight, the Buffalo Bills destroy the New York Jets 38-3. Never really close. 14-3, 17-3, 38-3. Kyle Orton, 24 of 32 for 230 points, 115.4 QB rating. Mike Vick, god-awful, 7 of 19 with an interception. They put Geno Smith back in the game. And Geno completed 10 of 12 for 89 yards, but no touchdowns, couldn't score. It was garbage time, soft coverage. The Bills run 29 times for 116 yards, led by Anthony Dixon's 12 carries for 54 yards. On the receiving end, Robert Woods was the big guy tonight. 9 catches for 118 yards and a touchdown. Sammy Watkins, only 3 catches for 35 yards. Less than likable conditions here going to Detroit because Buffalo was covered in feet of snow, not inches, feet of snow. They're 6-5 now, Jim. Do the Buffalo Bills make the playoffs?
Yeah, that's hard to say, and I'll tell you why. I was looking at the Dolphins' remaining schedule, and it's pretty favorable for them. I like the Dolphins better as a team, but not by much. In other words, the Bills have a good defense. Their offense, you kind of... Do they have a complete set of wide receivers? Probably not. And then they've got issues at running back, but teams have made it with less, I guess, or they could still make it. I think they're in the hunt. But the AFC East, more than likely between the Bills and the Dolphins, is going to probably come down to that last Week 17 game.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out.
I mean, you'd like to sit there and just flat out rule the Bills out, but it's not the same Bills team that we've seen the last couple of seasons. They actually have been doing things, making plays, being impressive, winning when they should absolutely win, and then surprising us with a few.
If they can get Kyle Orton consistent, then you might be talking about some damage that the Buffalo Bills can do, because especially once they get C.J. Spiller back and Fred Jackson, and not that they're struggling to run the ball much not without them, but it'd be very interesting to see what this team looks like in December. Very interesting.
Here.
All right, the Seattle Seahawks take the NFC's best team, the Arizona Cardinals, and thrash them around 19-3. Apparently, a team meeting set everything straight for the Seattle Seahawks. The Cardinals were playing without Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously, Carson Palmer is done for the year. Drew Stanton, 14 of 26 for 149 yards. Andre Ellington, only 10 carries for 24 yards. For the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, 17 of 22 for 211. Also, their leading rusher, Marshawn Lynch, ran 15 times for 39 yards. Tell me Arizona doesn't have a defense, and I'll tell you to shut your mouth. Seriously, I mean, you don't do that. This was just a case of Seattle chipping, and it was 3-0, 6-0, 9-0, 9-3, 12-3, and then they just tack a touchdown down in the third quarter on a 20-yard pass from Russell Wilson to Chris Helfett. I just think this game says more about the Seahawks than it does the Cardinals. What do you think?
I agree with that. I agree with that because I still think this is a good Cardinals team, even though that score is sort of it's lopsided. I mean, they got spanked by the Seahawks in Seattle, and that is actually what should have happened. But for the fact that Seattle hasn't played up to our expectations, put it that way, at times this season. It does say more about Seattle. If they've really turned it around, then they'll be a force to be reckoned with here in the home stretch. We'll know more. I believe they still have a game left with the Cardinals in Arizona, if my memory's correct. Am I wrong or right about that?
See, now you're going to make me look it up really quick and try to act like I know what I'm talking about. Hold on.
Here, let me look it up real quick. I can look it up real quick. But, that's what I would say. I would say it definitely is more of a reflection of Seattle than it is the Cardinals.
Yeah, they play Seattle in Week 16.
Oh, there we go. Wow. That'll be great. Because I think we'll see a better Arizona offense that week.
How about this? Last 3 games for the Arizona Cardinals: at St. Louis, home against Seattle, at San Francisco.
Wow. That's pretty amazing. And then Seattle, they have the 49ers this week.
Yep. Oh no, they're at Atlanta this week. They played San Francisco week 3 and they beat them 23-14.
No. This week, Seattle is at San Francisco.
Oh, Seattle. I was looking at. Yeah. You are correct, sir. They're at San Francisco. Seattle goes to San Francisco, then to Philadelphia, home against the 49ers again, then at Arizona, and then they end home against the Rams. Which is not an easy picking anymore.
No, it's not.
Which we're going to get into. The next game here is the San Diego Chargers edging the St. Louis Rams 27-24. You know, Jim, there's 2 teams that I'm beginning to like this season, and I hate myself for it. And one is the Rams. And I don't really have a reason to be angry at myself for liking the Rams, other than there's just something about blue and gold just makes I come up with better colors. The other team is this is my high school colors. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm traumatized. And the other one is the Dallas Cowboys, and that's just because I'm a Dallas hater. I really am. But St. Louis plays tough, and San Diego, for whether Phillip Rivers is battling a rib injury or whatnot, he went 29 of 35 for a touchdown and 291 yards. The Rams have no business being in any of these games whatsoever, and yet they are, time after time, week after week, even stealing a couple games. So it'll be really interesting to see where they go in the offseason, what direction they go from the quarterback position on, whether Trey Mason's a running back or they try to do something else. But if you're a Chargers fan, you got to be encouraged by Ryan Matthews, 12 carries for 105 yards, including a 32-yarder and a touchdown. And Keenan Allen, 6 catches for 104 yards. Back on the radar, folks, but he was on my bench because I had no faith.
I was going to ask you. You didn't take my advice.
I had no faith. I went with Crabtree.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
I still won because I had Odell Beckham.
Nice.
Yeah. So, Jim, what's your takeaway from this game? If you're a Chargers fan, are you scared? If you're a Rams fan, are you encouraged? Yes, no?
Well, you know, the Rams, I just think they need to get to the end of this season and sort of recollect themselves and decide what direction they're going. I mean, I think Jeff Fisher, potentially his job's on the line. He's been with the team, 3-4 years now? And I know they've been the victim of some terrible injuries, but at some point you still got to wonder, okay, what are we doing with what we have in a team? And they do show up to play, and I do like what he does, but is that enough? For the Chargers, I'm worried because I think this stretch of the season is a tough one for them. They're getting they're taking on the best teams that are out there defensively and just trying to keep their head above waters. This was a huge win for them. And I forget who they play this week, but it's another big game. And they're definitely going to need to win it. Oh, they're traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be a tough one. So am I encouraged for the Chargers? I would say no. They're sitting third in their division. They've got several losable games staring them straight in the face. So we may not see that same sort of they won't have that same playoff cachet that they did last year.
All right, another team that's playing hard and not always coming up on the right side of the stick is the Miami Dolphins. The Denver Broncos beating them by 3 thanks to 22 fourth-quarter points, courtesy of a Demaryius Thomas 5-yard pass, a C.J. Anderson 10-yard run, Wes Welker, and Jarvis Landry. I'm sorry, Wes Welker catching a 2-yard pass, Jarvis Landry catching it from Ryan Tannehill to bring them within 3. Denver's Denver. We know what they are. They're home. They were supposed to win this. Were you surprised that Miami was as close as they were?
No, not at all. In fact, I had recommended Ryan Tannehill as sort of if you were streaming quarterbacks or if you needed a bye week quarterback, he was the guy to go with in this matchup. He's certainly more than capable of throwing 3 touchdown passes as well as over 300 yards. Plus, they had the defense that could match up with the Broncos. But unfortunately, that defense, they failed the test too when it boiled right down to it. But there aren't too many defenses that are going to take on Peyton Manning and hold him to under 2 passing touchdowns in a game. That said, the Dolphins, they had a great game. They came out of it with the loss, but it was a close game. They should pat themselves on the back. if they ever get another shot to play the Broncos, they'll have learned from this game. They'll have some film on them, so they take that to heart. But they've got a great schedule the rest of the way out, and that's why I like their chances of making the playoffs. They're one of the wild cards.
The San Francisco 49ers beat the Washington Redskins 17-13. Alfred Morris, 21 carries for 125 yards and a touchdown. Robert Griffin III, 11 of 19 for 106 yards, sacked 5 times. Colin Kaepernick, 20 of 29 for 256 yards and a touchdown. Carlos Hyde punting the Niners ahead for good. He only ran for 16 yards and 7 carries, but did score the touchdown. For Anquan Bolden, 12 targets, 9 catches, 137 yards, and a touchdown. Jim, what do you... I don't mean to ask you such a vague question, but what do you make of this 49ers team? I mean, they went from the Super Bowl to the NFC Championship game. They're up and down all over the place. Are they still a Super Bowl contender this season?
I think they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're not playing up to their potential worth, or to their potential, whatever you want to call it. There's a better team that's locked up in there that needs to be free and needs to be out there on the fields. Why it's not, I can't exactly tell you. Could it be motivation? Could it be some dissension? It could be. It could be those things. And maybe it's that time of year. I mean, after a while, if you're contending enough, you get tired. You need time off. You need a break. And it could be that for them. That having been said, we're in a stretch run right now. If there's an exciting time for football or a time for this team to show their mettle, this is it. And Colin Kaepernick needs to be at the top of that, leading the way, along with Aldon Smith on the defensive side of the football. We're going to know more about him this coming week as they take on those Seahawks at home. It's a game that they have to win. It's a must-win. And it'll likely dictate who out of the NFC West advances to the playoffs.
All right. The Dallas Cowboys roaring back and beating the New York Giants after they were down 14-3. Odell Beckham with the catch of the season, if not of all time. You can argue that is the best catch of all time. The Twitter close-ups of that, which I thank God for social media, but to catch that ball with basically 3 fingers and haul it in, it's just amazing. It just is. Rashad Jennings, 19 carries for 52 yards for the Giants. Andre Williams, 10 carries, 35 yards, and a touchdown. Eli Manning, 29 of 40 for 3 touchdowns. So anybody that was worried about the 5 interception outing didn't happen, thank God. For the Cowboys, a recipe for disaster for everybody else. 24 carries for DeMarco Murray, 121 yards. No touchdowns, though, but Tony Romo took care of that. 18 of 26 for 275. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 143.4 passer rating. When the Cowboys play like this, Jim, I got to say they're unbeatable, no?
No, because, the Giants could have beaten them in this game.
No, but they didn't, though.
Is this a trick question?
But they didn't.
Look, yeah, they did. The Cowboys did something that our writer on the fantasygreek.com, Ben Franklin, very astutely in his game review, pointed out. When they fell down in the points, they didn't abandon their game plan. They kept running the football. They kept giving it to DeMarco Murray, and that was great. I thought that showed a lot of character, a lot of poise, and a lot of commitment from that team. It was great to see the Giants actually play up for once against a Dallas Cowboys team that's been having quite a good season. And so in that sense, you got your money's worth, and Dallas proved something to me. They proved they could be that team that could contend for not only an NFC championship, but a conference championship and potentially getting to the Super Bowl, even though I'm not sure that I'd be willing to say that they're the best team out of the NFC or the entire league at this point of the season. But, yeah, the Giants, they could have beat them last night. There's no question about it, but they didn't, and that's okay. That's what football's about.
Oh, you make a speech like that, you make me want to go fight the world for you. That's what football's about.
I'm trying to keep people motivated, Keith. It's so late tonight.
Oh, well. And the final game to talk about.
Is it working for you? Is it working for you?
The game that just ended, so I don't know how up to snuff you are on what happened tonight. The Ravens beating the Saints 34-27 in New Orleans. nonetheless. The Saints, 5 of 12 on